Shalom, first and foremost, I like to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostle elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And salutations to all you brothers out there pushing this word in love, truth, sincerity, and humility. Once again, it's the brother Shatia from the Chicago camp coming back to you with what I hope is another quick and edifying sit down. And this is on TikTok. It's this Jake called Levered the Bassman, and I've seen a few of his videos there. Uh, he has a very comical way of explaining things, and what he's doing right now is inspired by a comment that was left on his page. I can't find the video, but somebody wrote a comment on his channel saying, well, everybody always wants to talk about Black history this and Black history that, how it's so important. He was like, why don't we talk about white history? And so his thing is like, oh, okay, you want to talk about white history? Well, I'm going to do a whole month of talking about white history. So this is where one of his many videos picks up, and it's going to be describing the usual bestial and outright savage nature of bad Uncle Esau. So let's let Mr. Bassman speak.
Morning. Here's a moment in white history. Have you ever wondered how we found out the proper amount of vitamins, nutrients, minerals, or calories we needed to consume in a day in order to survive? You can thank Dr. Lionel Bradley Pett, who found out exactly what it took to keep the human body alive by starving native children to death. The experiments were performed by the Department of Indian Affairs of Canada under the direction of two physicians. One, Dr. Percy Moore, the Indian Affairs Branch Superintendent of Medical Services, and Dr. Frederick Tisdale, a famed nutritionist and former president of the Canadian Pediatric Society. The First Nations nutrition experiments, as they were called, were a series of experiments run in Canada by the Department of Pensions and National Health, now known as Health Canada, in the 1940s and 50s. At the lowest estimates, these experiments were conducted on at least 1,300 indigenous people, with at least 1,000 of them being children. In these experiments, parents were not informed, nor was their consent given. In the 1940s, Canadian officials became aware that Native children in these residential schools were malnourished. So the Canadian government sent researchers to figure out why these indigenous children were malnourished. Meanwhile, this evil bastard wanted to know what the recommended intake for different vitamins and minerals should be. He saw the hunger and malnutrition at residential schools as an opportunity to figure out just what the human body needed to survive. So in 1947, he began conducting experiments on about 1,000 children in 6 residential schools across the country. Instead of giving these innocent children food to treat their malnutrition, he gave them supplements like riboflavin and thiamine to see if it would mitigate these problems. It did not. In another experiment, instead of giving these innocent children food to eat, he gave them pieces of enriched bread, thinking that that would improve their malnutrition. It did not. They became anemic and they died. Even though indigenous children were dying, they still continued these experiments. Most of these innocent children were so malnourished that their teeth would fall out, but they wouldn't take them to a dentist because they wanted to see the effects of malnutrition on gum health. Over 1,000 indigenous children were starved to death in these residential schools, and the experiments kept going. Why? Because they were already marginalized and vulnerable. Nobody was looking out for the best interest of these children. They had no voice and no one to advocate for their best interest. It's because of the starvation and deaths of innocent indigenous children that we now know exactly how many calories, vitamins, nutrients, and minerals the human body needs to stay alive. And that's how the deaths of indigenous children became today's moment in white history. Happy Indigenous Heritage Month. Hey, good morning.
Like I said, he has a very comical, sarcastic way of pointing these things out, but yeah, that just, man, I first saw it. I didn't even know that. But when I heard him explain it, I was like, God, dog, man, that's something that really got under my skin, man. Doing this stuff to our brothers, Gad, just let thousands of children just starve, as you want to figure out what the human body needs to survive. And see, this is why the scripture says, it's in Psalms 64:6. It says, they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search. All right. Because that's so that's so wickedly diligent that we now know how much the human body needs to survive, because some devil took it upon himself to literally just starve out little children. As we say, as the proverbial saying in the world goes, they got it down to a science. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. Okay. This guy took on great measures, for lack of a better phrase, to figure out every single detail. And this where he said, well, we tried riboflavin and this thiamine, and nah, that didn't work. So imagine how long this went on. It's like, well, let's see if we can give them some vitamin A and vitamin D at this amount. Nope, that didn't work either. All right, let's try this combination and then this combination. No, that didn't work out. Well, let's just try this combination, the same thing, at a higher dosage. No, that didn't work out either. That's what this man did to those children for years. And see, this is why the Lord said, it would help to spell three right. There we go. Amos 1 and I think it's 11. Yep. Amos 1 and 11. It says, thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity. All pity. This man did not care if thousands of children starved and suffered. That's a horrible death, as the scripture says. And we're going to get back to this Amos 1. Okay? No. That's a horrible way to die. Horrible, horrible way to die. And this is what the scripture says on this. And I believe it's in the Apocrypha, if my memory serves me correctly. Where it says, let me put this up. Let me put this on pause and find it for you. Lamentations 4 and 9. It says, they that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through for want of the fruits of the field. And that's what happened to these young children. They pined away in a horrible grief and suffering. Because when you don't go without food, you'll be okay for a little bit. Because what happens is that your body starts, I believe, your liver starts breaking down its stored sugar like glycogen, and it starts using it for energy. And then when all that's used up, it starts using your body fat. Now, if you got a lot of it, you'll be okay for a little bit. But then once your sugar reserve is gone and then your fat is gone, then what happens is your body starts eating into the muscle to survive. And see, that's when things get bad. That's when you start experiencing headaches, hallucinations, to the point where it gets so bad you might start suffering from liver failure. Then you have kidney failure, constipation, so on and so forth. I mean, that's a horrible way to die. And that devil subjected those young Gadites to a horrible death like that. Okay? And it says, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword and did cast off all pity. And it says, and his anger did tear perpetually and kept his wrath forever. And he has kept his wrath forever. Because when you look at this devil's track record, what else do we have? The Tuskegee experiment, AIDS, and so on and so forth. All right. All under the so-called name of science, which was really hate. It was hate described as science, under the guise of science, I should say. Just pure, unfiltered, raw, putrid hate. And now all this information is coming out, and this devil's trying to hide it. Because now we have Habakkuk 2 and 16. It says, thou art filled with shame for glory. Because you have to realize a lot of these people that are held in high esteem upon the nation of Edom, their so-called greatness came at the expense of great suffering of other people. Columbus was so-called a great explorer, great explorer. But what was the price of that? Many of our people died horrible deaths during boat transportation, through mining of gold, just trying to defend themselves. Okay, George Washington, the founding father, was a great president, a great man. Yeah, that came off the backs of slaves. Now, as it pertains to these, oh man, this is a great and wise doctor. Man, he made breakthroughs in the realm of medicine and technology. But yeah, when you do the history and the research, like stuff like this, you find out that it came at a high price, at the suffering of many Israelite people. Especially when I found out about gynecology. Oh my goodness. I don't even want to get started on that. And that's why it says, thou art filled with shame for glory, because all these people who are held in high esteem amongst the nation of Edom, now the truth is coming out and they're found to be just low life scumbags. It says, drink thou also and let thy foreskin be uncovered. It says, yeah, let all that dirt you've been doing now be shown. It says, the cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. So all the bad things that happen to us, all the misinformation and lies that you spread about our people, now it's coming back upon your head. And now many of your people, especially your women, they don't even want to have any business to do with you all. They want to completely separate themselves from you all, because they don't want to be a part of that culture. They don't want to get caught up in that rep where that, oh my, that was my father's brother. That ain't me. That I knew about it. I've been trying to speak on it, but nobody didn't want to listen. They told me to shut up. Hey, folks are separating themselves from you all, because now all your dirty laundry is being aired out. As the worldly saying goes, it all comes out in the wash. And this devil is being exposed on all fronts for the devil that he is. So that's all I want to say on this. I hope you all were edified. Until the next time, we're going to also say shalom.